y'all, I'm Kim and I own Keller's. Welcome to our Christmas Power Hour class. In this one, we're going to teach you how to do 20 pages from one pack, our Down Home Christmas Assortment Pack. We've added a few extra sheets of our quadrant papers, some of the half sheets that go with it, and some fun die cuts like our stackers and rings and maybe a Christmas tree or two. It comes together super quick and easy when you build them from the ground up in 10 minutes a day. So that's the process we're going to teach you. You can rewind this video and watch it over and over and do it at your own pace. But once you master the process, it will change the way you scrapbook. We're so glad to have you with us today. Welcome to our Power Hour Farmhouse Christmas. We are going to get started by getting all of the work done using our 2 pages of cutting diagrams. And all of these pieces will help us build the 20 pages in this kit. But rest assured that these pieces are versatile enough to be able to change with whatever direction your photos go, be it horizontal or vertical, as well as how many photos you have. Okay, we've set the pages up so there's lots of options, or you can change our page layout altogether. Extremely versatile, extremely easy, but the way to get 20 pages done in an hour is to get the foundations first, which that's what these diagrams are going to do and help us get all of these cuts. So we're going to go just in order, okay? So you have 4 6x12 sheets and 7 quadrant sheets. So I'm just going to set those a little bit higher and bring my paper trimmer to where you can see it, hopefully. Okay? And I'm going to keep my pen and my diagram here to make sure I can make notes. So number 1 is a diagram sheet. And we're going to start by cutting the header strip off. We do not always do that, but in this one, that first diagram, it shows a gap between the two. So that means we're going to cut that off. And it's such a cute little border. I want you to save these on all the ones we cut off in this kit. Okay? If you do like me and leave a little bit too much edge on, you can go back and trim it off now. Or you can do it at the point you're inking and distressing to hide some of that. But I'm going to go ahead and shave those couple of little pieces off. And if you haven't noticed, I use a guillotine trimmer most of the time. I use a sliding blade trimmer if I need to cut the center out of something, or for some reason I don't have this one with me. But a guillotine gives a smooth edge on both sides. A sliding blade pushes that paper down. So on double-sided paper, it ends up really rough on the back side. All right, so back to cutting these. Make sure you notice in the diagrams that we have labeled them to go with our quadrant paper. Plaid, burgundy dot, green dot, and snowman. All right, and it shows us where the first cut is to cut these 2 sections apart, because this bottom part, we are going to leave those as borders. So we're going to cut between the plaid and the green dot and between the burgundy dot and the snowman, like so. The plaid and the burgundy dot are 6x6. So I will just cut on those lines to cut those apart, and those pieces are done. I'll just build a big pile off to the side of all the pieces. So I've done those. This bottom half, we need 1.5 by 12. So you're not going to cut these 2 quadrant prints apart. They're going to stay as borders. Now, I could measure at 1.5 4 different times, but I think it's a lot easier and the cuts will be straighter if I measure and work my way down. So you're going to want to do it at 4.5, 3, and 1.5. Okay, it's 6 inches wide. I need 1.5 inches. So measuring at 4.5 makes what falls off 1.5 inches. Then when I measure at 3, what falls off is 1.5 inches. And when I measure at 1.5, it does the same. So I am through that whole sheet. Okay, so let's move on to the second one. It tells me to cut that header strip off again by showing that little gap in there in between them. So I'm going to cut that one off. And then on this one, I can see the gaps between all 4 quadrants. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Then it shows me to cut a 2-inch piece horizontally off of them all, and all but the plaid will then cut the 4x6 in half. So step 1 is to cut all of our quadrants apart. Okay. Then I'm going to set them back. Plaids and polka dots really don't matter, but the snowman, the direction on him is going to matter just a little bit. Okay, so I will do him first to make sure I do it right. I need a 2-inch piece off of here and then cut the 4x6 that's left to 3x4. So I'm going to measure it 4. So what comes off is that 2-inch piece. Flip this, and that gets those 2 pieces. So this one's done. Now, a 2-inch piece off of the plaid is all that needs to happen. So again, I measure it 4. That gets me those 2. And these 2 I can do at the same time. I'm going to measure it 4, get 2-inch pieces off, and rotate them to 3. So I have done all 4 of these. Hey y'all, we have one quick change that we found when we were laying out the pages in this kit. On the first sheet of diagrams, this 4x6 plaid that was left whole, we needed to cut it to 3x4 if you want it to look exactly like our pages. And we figured it out for sure when we started laying the pieces out. So it's this piece, and if you cut it in half, you will have these 2 pieces. If you change the way you're laying your pages out and they're not exactly like ours, you may prefer it to stay a 4x6. But just know at the end, if you're like, I am missing 2 little pieces, you're going to want to cut it because one gets used on the red side and one gets used on the plaid. Now this next one is about as easy as it gets. Header strips coming off because there's space, and there's space between the quadrants, and it tells me all of them are going to stay 6x6s. So I'm going to cut that header strip off, save that cute border, and then I'm just going to cut these apart and save these and either use them on the print or the solid side, whichever the layout shows. All right, we have rolled through those top 3. Now these are the 6x12 prints. So let's start at the bottom. 2 are end up going to be flower side up and 2 are stripe. It doesn't matter when you cut them, but I will turn them so they look like the diagrams, okay? So both of these are exactly the same, and it's showing the first cut is at that 1-inch mark because you need 2 pieces 1x12. I'm gonna do both of mine at the same time to save time, but you can do one sheet and then the other. And why is that first mark here? Okay, why isn't that turned around and saying to measure at 1? Look how hard that would be to keep that straight and steady. There was too much paper hanging off over here. So if you measure at 5, because it's a 6-inch wide piece, what falls off is 1. So on your diagram, write 5 and then 4 and then 6 to rotate it on the side. And after you do this a couple of times, if you haven't before, those numbers will totally make sense to you because it keeps the bulk of your paper up on the paper trimmer. So we have done this one and this one. Now, on this stripe, we need 4 pieces a 1/2 inch wide. So let's measure at 5.5, 5, 4.5, and 4. Then we'll turn it and measure at 6. So 5.5, I cut, that gives me a 1/2 inch piece that fell off. 5 does the same thing, 4 does, or 4.5, excuse me, that does the same thing, and 4. So that gives me my 4 skinny borders, and then I rotate this to 6. All right, last one. We need a 4x6 mat, so our first cut is going to be right there. So for me, I'm going to measure at 8 because this is 12. If I measure at 8, 4 inches falls off. Now, the second cut will be at 4. So this one was first, this one was second. And then these 2 4x6s, I will rotate and measure at 3 because they're 6 inches wide. If you measure at 3, that cuts them in half to give your 3x4s. Y'all, we are almost home free. We have done 7 of our pieces. All right, last set. We've got some more quadrants to do, and then I'll be back in the next segment to do our borders. So on these, it says cut 2 sheets using each of these diagrams, okay? So I'll do them one at a time, see if that makes it easier on this one. Header strip's coming off, so we're gonna take this off of 2 sheets. So there's the header off, and I want to go back. These, for some reason, we missed getting them labeled. So I know that that's plaid, green dot, burgundy dot, and snowman. Okay, so I want a 2-inch piece of burgundy dot and snowman coming off. So if I measure at 10, that has a 2-inch piece of those coming off together. So we're gonna do that on 2 pieces. One is done. Next one, let's get that header off. And then measure at 10. And that's the second piece. So we have done 2 pieces like that. This last one is super easy. Header strip coming off, cut the 4 quadrants apart, and then cut a 2-inch piece off of all 4 quadrants. This time we're going vertical. Okay? So this one was gonna give us a bunch of 4x6 mats with some 2x6s for embellishing and making pockets and tags and such as that. So I'm gonna cut all these apart. Plaid and the polka dot, directions don't matter. I'll measure at 4, cut them both at the same time. 4x6, 2x6. Now, when I cut these apart, I'll be sure to put the snowman on top, because the direction on him to get a vertical cut does matter. So I'll measure at 4. I have my 2x6 and my 4x6. I've done one, and now my last one will be the same way as this. Header strip off, cut our quadrants apart, and then a 2-inch vertical piece comes off of each. Did those 2, and again the snowman, I'm gonna pay attention so the 2-inch vertically comes off of him the right way. Y'all, we should have set a timer. Amazing. All the papers are cut. We have 3 borders to do together, and we'll be back to do those in just a minute. Okay, we're back, and the last 3 things we have on our diagram are our 3 borders, okay? So the first one is the peppermint and the wood grain 2-inch borders. I'm gonna cut the header off, and instead of cutting them in half, I'm gonna take 2 half-inch pieces off of each side, okay? So if we take the header off, this is 4 inches wide. I want to go 3.5 and 3 to get me 2 half-inches off of that side. And then I want to go 2.5 and 2. Okay? And then I will cut these 2 apart. So I have a peppermint one and a wood one left. Trim a little bit more of that peppermint off, which I might have to do with my scissors to get it completely off of there. I'll wait and see if my ink covers that a little bit. But that's the trickiest one. And we do it that way so you're not left holding a 1-inch piece that you're trying to get a little sliver of, okay? So that will take 1 border piece of 2-inch borders and let it work on multiple pages. The next one's a little bit easier. The one with 3 on it, we're just simply cutting the prints apart. So this you probably don't even need to watch me do. But there we go. You can see how easy it is. Cut those 3 apart. And then the last one, this first one, the plaid strip, we're gonna leave whole. And the other 3 we're not cutting apart. We're gonna turn and cut it 4 inches. So take the header strip off, and we want to cut that plaid one off. that one comes off and stays as is. Then these guys, you're gonna want them at 4 inches, so we will cut at 8 and 4. And you won't believe how cute those are gonna look on one of our layouts. Now, we are officially done with all of the diagrams. We'll be back to show you which pieces you've cut, how they sort out onto the background pages, and show you a couple other tricks as we put all of these 20 pages together in our Christmas Power Hour. Okay, y'all. Now that you've got all of your pieces cut in your kit, we're going to show you how we divided the cut pieces up onto the different background sheets. If that helps you to recreate the ones we did, then that's great. That was our intention. But it will also help you see, if you sort them out that way, if the number of pictures you have are going to work with those pieces. So you could sort your pictures into the piles with the pieces on each page. And if you end up with too many pieces because you have too many pictures, so there's not enough space, that'll help you move some of the cut pieces to other pages. So adjustments can be made, but it's good to get things sorted amongst the 10 layouts so that you have a better idea when you get ready to start gluing things down. So we really hope this sorting process and giving you these still shots that you can freeze and look at while you go through your pieces is a valuable part of this class. Okay, y'all, I wanted to go over some of the pages and some of the little tricks on them so you can see just how easy this is. So the one I put on top is the one where we cut a 2-inch piece off of that piece of paper, and that's all we did on both sides. We cut 2 inches off of both sides of these. Well, look what happens if you flip to the solid side and then put that down and use one of these border strips to seam them back together. Okay, so you can see once you embellish it how cute that is. So flip this to the solid side, leave this on the print, and use one of the border strips to seal that back together. Now, we put it on white cardstock and included white cardstock in your kit. But at home, that would be the perfect place to mount these or to adhere these to ugly paper. Now, every scrapbooker out there just about has bought one of the big, thick 180 sheet pads of paper that you like, maybe 4 or 6 sheets of them, and all the rest you think they're too ugly to ever use. We'll use those as 12 by 12 to hold your space and glue this stuff over them. This is one of our mini stackers we cut in half. Here we doubled up the rings, okay? So you would glue this red one onto a photo, trim the outside edge off, and then add the green ring outside to make it look double matted. This stacker piece, we made it be a pocket. We only put adhesive around the edges of it. And here's a mini stacker with one of the Quote It Fast on it. And then don't forget all the little tags and titles. You don't have to make them all look like tags. Cut a notch out and straight edge off on that side. Super cute. Okay, this one I want to show you how to cut all of these pieces and just how easy it is. So let me just pick one. Let's pick the plaid because it's on top and it's on the outside. It's this plaid border, and I would pinch these edges together and I will cut a notch out of both ends at the same time. Just an angle in, an angle in, okay? So that makes sure they're both even. And then I'm gonna cut about 1/3 of it off, and I don't measure, but I use the plaid lines on here to be my guide. So I have a piece for one side and a piece for another side. Easy peasy. Packages and Snowflake, this little print one, same thing. Pinch the ends together, cut the little notches in, and then this one, I just want to make sure this one is a little bit longer because that means this one will be a little bit shorter. Okay? I don't measure any of these. Now, let's look at this red one. Which one of these is red on the back? I think it's these I'm supposed to be using right here. Okay? So, instead of cutting a notch out here, I want to get this arrow piece, and then we'll do a little shorter one and a little shorter one out of the black. So you pinch your paper together, you do not crease it, and instead of cutting a triangle out here, you're gonna move up in the side of the paper a little bit. So this one, I'm gonna come up about that far. That gives you a piece here and a piece here. Now, it looks like I should have made it a little longer, but all I need to do is make sure these are 3 different sizes. So that one works. The tan one, I'll do the same thing, and I will do it just a little shorter. That one's a little bit shorter. And then black, I'll do it, and that one will be even shorter. And that means these are 3 different lengths for up here. And these become all of your embellishing pieces like that. Quick, easy, nothing but paper, doing all of your embellishing. I just love scrapbooking this way. All right, this one, plaid piece, same thing. Pinch it together, cut a little notch out so you have your piece for here and your piece for here. These borders stayed whole, so I didn't put those out, but here are some of your other 2-inch pieces and one of your titles. Adhesive is only around these edges, okay? Now, these little tags, there's some more in the rest of the kit. You do that by cutting one of these pieces in half to 3 inches, and if you don't feel like pulling out your trimmer and measuring, just roughly fold it in half and do this. And now to get the edges off, you pinch the outside corners together and snip those off. And that's how you get these little tags. But you have tons of 2x6s. So the 2x6s make the pockets as well as the tags. There's another little one in there. And then on this one, we just cut out extra tags from your tag and title sheet. But anything can be a pocket with adhesive just around 3 edges. All right, let's see. This is a page where it would be perfect to have ugly paper on your background because these photos are gonna cover up all of the background, so nobody would know if you used white or not. So I would use ugly. These are the 1.5 by 12 borders you cut. Make it super fun, add some interest there. And then the mini stackers with a little round picture and then highlighting a 4x6 picture. Those circles just soften up the lines. Makes it much more interesting on these pages. All right, here's a page, lots of vertical pictures going on, which seems to be how we take photos these days because we have switched. Back when we were holding real cameras in our hand, most of our pictures were horizontal. Now that most of us rely on our cell phone, they have turned vertical. If you needed to rotate this page, you totally could, and you could put another vertical or horizontal picture here and take this title and rotate it so it sat over the edge of all of them. But if you have a bunch of verticals, here we go. Now this one strip did all 3. So I started by doing the trick of cutting the notch out to get this piece, okay? And then here, I just used a line of dots to be my measuring point. Instead of worrying about is it straight or not, just let the dots do the work. And then the one that was left, I cut a notch out again. Okay, so, and you can tuck it up under there or make it longer. But I never measure on these. I just make sure I have a variety of sizes with those easy little snips. Here's another page. Totally would be ugly paper under there and covered with photos. This is where those 3 little borders we left together and cut to 3x4s. Aren't those cute print papers? Now, up here shows how 1 4x6 photo equals 2 of these spaces. So if you have more 4x6s, move that one over, and you could have whole pictures. You can totally rearrange it for whichever way or however many pictures you have of what size. These guys show 2 of our 6x6s we left whole. You can do a square photo, you could do horizontal or vertical 4x6, highlight over one, or actually make that a round photo. Here is the same trick that we've been doing, where you pinch the ends together, cut the notch out of both ends at the same time so that they're even, And then I decided I want a long one and a short one, so I cut about 1/3 off. And again, I use the plaid lines to keep me straight. Whoops, upside down. See how easy? Scrapbooking should be so fun. It should be therapy. It shouldn't be stressful. All right, these are all pieces that come in your kit. Flashcards, snip it fast. I love the Christmas trees we added. If you don't have round photos for right here, feel free to journal in them, or maybe add a flower or some chipboard or something there. Whatever works on your pages. This wood border, I cut it to stretch it apart, so it's not actually under here, so that you have enough to go here. These pieces are just like the others we've done. These two pieces, you're gonna pinch together, cut the notch out, and then snip them in half, okay? This one, you're going to trim a little piece off first to do there. So trim a little piece off, cut a notch out for up there, then cut the notches out of these ends and cut it in half. That way, it's a little bit shorter than the border strip here. Same tricks over and over, so cute. And I think in the other video I said that was my favorite flashcard, and it certainly is. I just love it. I love the layers with the quote it fast. This is one of the pieces off the tag and title sheet. We layered some more stuff. Here's a ring you could use if you have another photo. You could actually have that, a picture in it right there. And we double matted the rings here again, so that photo would look like it had been double matted. And here's some of those 1/2-inch borders. These are header strips, and those are the 1/2-inch borders we started at the beginning. These pages are quick, are easy. All of the work gets done in about 10 minutes to cut the pieces up for all of your diagrams. Another 10 to 15 minutes, another night to cut the other pieces up from the tags and titles and the circles and all. Then take all your favorite Christmas pictures from one year or through the years and add them to these pages. Then add some journaling and then any extra embellishments you want. And you attack this 10 minutes a day for a week, and you should be close to done on this book. If it takes you 10 minutes a day for 2 weeks, it's still an entire album done. If it takes you 20 minutes a day for 1 week, it's still an entire album done. And I'm telling you, the power in scrapbooking is when the photos are on the page. Pictures and words tell the story, but we've got to get them on the page to be able to share it with everybody. Thank you for being here for another class, especially a special one like Christmas Power Hour. As always, if you have any questions, email us, info@acidfree.com. And if you want to purchase this kit or any of our other class kits, it's under virtual classes on our website as well. Thanks y'all for being with us.